Welcome to episode 39 of the Whatnauts Review Show, where each week we pick a story and we talk about it. Could be a movie, TV series, anime, manga, comic book, audio show, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, whatever we need to do, and then we come back here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by my co-captain, Kyle Springer. Kyle, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad to be back.
Yay!
I missed doing all the podcasts over the holiday break. I got to watch all of the Marvel movies with my family, which was both fantastic and a nightmare because they have a hard time sitting still to watch movies. So that was bad. But it was still a lot of fun, and they got to finally experience them all. So it was good.
That's so good. It's one of the most fun things to show something you love to your parents,
yes,
as an adult, and not just as a little kid, and they have to sit down with you.
Yeah, they had seen most of them, but then it got to the point where I had forgotten to watch some of them, and then were interested in watching other ones, and I was like, well, you can. No one's stopping you, but if you want to experience them all at once, which would be the way to go,
to do it.
Especially because my mom doesn't have the best short-term memory, so if she watches them all back to back, that would help her. And she was like, "This is amazing! I didn't know they all connected." I was like, "We've been saying that for the past 10 years."
Yeah, our parents are kind of like that too.
It was good. It was fun. What are we talking about today, though?
Out of all the pitches I gave you before we left, Kyle, because we took a 3-week break away from the show instead of our usual 1 week, so we had a greater amount of time to work with. And the mission you chose to accept is the entire 6 films of the Mission Impossible franchise.
Yeah, starting off 2019 with a bang.
Yes, this was a very exciting first pick. So these movies all together are, I bought the Blu-ray sets, plain old Mission Impossible in 1996, directed by Brian De Palma.
Old Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible 2 from 2000. Mission Impossible 2 in 2000, directed by John Woo. Mission Impossible 3 in 2006, directed by J.J. Abrams. Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol from 2011, directed by Brad Bird. Mission Impossible Rogue Nation from 2015, directed by Christopher McQuarrie. And new just last year now, Mission Impossible Fallout, and 2018, directed by Christopher McQuarrie again.
There you go. Awesome. I'm excited. I wanted to pick these ones because, oddly enough, I haven't seen any of them but the first one. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd never seen any of these.
I never became a Mission Impossible fan. And so I was like, you know what? Those are good action movies. Yeah. That's a good, explosive start to 2019. Good fun. So why not? Let's do all of those.
Yeah.
So with the Marvel movies and these 6 movies and maybe the 1 or 2 other movies I watched, I think I watched about 30 movies over the winter break, and each one is almost 2 hours, so it's 60 hours of watching movies.
That's what winter break is for.
Yeah.
I pitched these movies because I've never seen any of them. But last year, in 2018, I ended up seeing a lot of movies in the theaters. I saw Avengers twice. I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp. I went to see Jurassic World 2. I saw all kinds of stuff over the spring and summer. I would see all kinds of things over spring and summer. So I saw the Fallout trailer over and over again. Yeah. And I was excited every time. Oh boy, the Fallout trailer, it's back. I never got tired of that trailer. And I listened to not 1, but 2 James Bond podcasts, and they keep bringing up Mission Impossible just as a comparison point.
Yeah.
And so
I'm sure we will too.
And so I'd become familiar with the concept of these, and I'm like, I've got to sit down and watch these things for real because I want to know what they are. Because I knew literally nothing besides your mission, should you choose to accept it, and
Yeah.
like the theme song, and Tom Cruise like dropping down on a wire and like
Yeah.
sweat drips off his nose, and that was the end of it. And I knew Simon Pegg was in them.
Well, that's all you need to know.
The main
That's the Mission
ingredients.
Impossible films. He falls down and stays there. That's in like all of them.
Yeah, I nicknamed these movies Tom Get Down From There.
Oh, Tom, get down from there.
I'm gonna put tape over them like when I put them back on my DVD shelf, and it's just like the Tom Get Down From There collection.
That's funny.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what were you
Yeah.
kind of expecting going into this? Also, like pretty much never having seen them.
Um, I was definitely expecting like spy action thriller, which is what they
Yeah.
are. I did always kind of think of them as a comparison to James
Mhm.
Bond, but I didn't know how much of a comparison
Yeah.
it would be. Is it like, oh, we're only saying that because we don't know anything else, like, or is it like, oh, this is actually a lot like James Bond? You know, here's the wacky gadgets and the cars that do all these crazy things, you know.
So
But certain ones are a lot more like
Yes.
James Bond, and certain
Yeah.
ones are not.
I think the fourth one is very Bondy, but yeah, I've got
That's yeah.
yeah.
I think, in my opinion, the fifth one was the most like
Mhm.
a Bond, but still.
Yeah. I figured out like what the distinction is between these and Bond. Like Bond is all style and it's all like flash, and these have got plenty of spectacle in them. But people
pizzazz.
people like James Bond because he's cool and he gets all the ladies. But James Bond is not a nice boy. Ethan Hunt is a nice boy. Ethan Hunt is somebody you can take home to your parents, and he will help you move, and he wants to pet every dog.
And he'll creepily read your lips in conversations that he has. That is like, how does he hear that? No, so yeah. I mean, if we were to break this down for like a premise, we've kind of said most of it, but all jumbled up. He's a spy.
He
works
is.
for the Impossible Mission Force, which I didn't know, but these are all based off of a TV show from the 60s. My dad mentioned that to me when he...
I think my dad's seen it too.
Which, I mean, they mention it in like the opening credits of all the films based on the television series from blah, blah, blah. But I mean, just not having... Despite Mission Impossible being in the pop culture for so long, you would think that would be something that people know, but somehow I missed that. But yeah. So based off an old television show that apparently my dad really liked back in the day. And they take on these impossible missions that
yes,
really aren't all that impossible because they do every single one of them. But he usually has some kind of team helping him. Spy, espionage, thriller, high action, big explosives, car chases. And as we've already mentioned, it's kind of like the American James Bond.
It is. Yeah, it's more of, I will say it's more of an ensemble piece. Like James Bond is a solo hero and he's got occasional helpers, but Ethan Hunt has a rotating series of helpers. Like there's some people that will only be in there for one movie, but like Luther is in every one of them. Simon Pegg, Benji.
Like
Benji's in 4 of them. Jim, Brandt is in 2 of them. Like he gains a more concrete team as the story goes on, and it ends up being this really lovely story about friendship and just how much these friends are willing
loyalty.
Like how much they're willing to do to protect each other. Yeah.
So it's good. If you guys haven't seen them yet, go check them out. There's 6 of them, so there's actually a wide range of
Yeah.
styles and stuff, since there's multiple
Mhm.
directors. Some are a little more cheesy and stuff like that,
Oh
and
yeah,
some
you
are more down to earth. Here's a spy thriller. Some are more like
mhm.
James Bond and stuff like that. So it's good
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I will also say if you're like wary of James Bond and his libido, I guess, these movies have a lot less of that.
A lot less, yeah.
Yeah, there's no like, womanizing. He's not betting a new lady in every exciting new European city. Like, nah, he's just here to do the job and be your friend.
Sounds good. So let's see. Do we have any housekeeping? First on the docket, I would say go check out our 3-year retrospective,
Yes.
our 3-year anniversary episode. It should have already been out at the time of recording this. I tried to put it up. I think I need to fix something, which I will do immediately after we record this thing. But it's up on YouTube. It's up on our website. All of that stuff as well. By time this goes public, hopefully all of that will be fixed. So if you are watching or listening to this not on our live stream, which is on the whatnauts.com/live streams every Sunday morning, usually at noon Eastern time. We're doing it a little bit earlier today. It's actually almost noon as I'm saying this right now. So we're about there, But yeah, if you guys are listening to it a little later, hopefully that stuff will be fixed by then. But it was a lot of fun. We got to sit down with a bunch of us, not all together. I kind of had to stitch it together. But we got to talk about all the stuff we did at the Whatnauts this past year. And it was a lot of fun. It was good. I think that's it for housekeeping. We did just record a new episode of The Captain's Log as well, which will be out shortly, just before this one comes out as well, maybe around the same time. So be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, I'd also like to say, check out our YouTube channel where if you're used to listening to these as a podcast, you can watch the video live streams. I have brand new equipment for this year.
Yeah, you do.
So I sound better and I look better and I have a different camera angle. So now me and Kyle have the same size face. Because my previous camera, like, I don't know, like the depth of field was different and my face was just closer to the camera and it was bigger and it always would bug me when I would check out what the live stream captures looked like.
Oddly enough, because my camera has never done the like small or get big thing, which was happening to your camera for the past like month. Oddly, yours didn't do it yesterday. So maybe my theory is right that it's something to do with the like built-in camera stuff. Who knows? But you have a new camera now. So hopefully it stays the same size.
Yes. I don't develop Ant-Man disease and I get bigger and smaller.
With that being said, we are about to get into spoiler territory. So if you have not seen the Mission Impossible films, we are going to start diving into those, including the most recent one, Mission Impossible Fallout. So we wanted to warn you there, and I have a brand new spoiler alert.
Yay!
Yeah, Melissa can't see it on her end, but it just popped up on the live
I've
stream.
seen it in other live streams.
Yeah, so it's on there. But that is your guys' warning for this.
Yeah, and it starts out pretty episodic, but the franchise does develop this mythology and these ongoing character relationships, and Fallout really is a lot of things coming together. Like, I do recommend going in and watching all of these together, like, not having spoiled for what Fallout ends up being when you're watching, like, Mission Impossible 3.
Yeah. So let's dive in, then.
Oh, boy.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start and just go through them one at a time?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do, or do we kind of want to mix it up?
Oh. Let's do a little bit on each movie. And I
Okay.
think
Mission Impossible 1.
I think if we did like even basic plot recaps for all 6 of these, that might be kind of a lot.
Yeah.
So general patches of the whole thing. So Mission Impossible, this came out in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And so I grew up watching stuff parody this movie
All the time.
over and over again. And I didn't know what it would be like going back to watch the original version, if it would feel really stale or old, but no, it's still just as exciting. It's riveting, even though I know, oh, everything is going to work out fine. I've seen this spoofed in so many cartoons, and I know there's 5 more movies after this, but still I'm like, how's he going to get out of that room? You know, what if that guy sees him dangling from the ceiling on a wire? Is he going to get the knock list? Like, it's still very good at drawing you in and keeping you compelled by it.
Yeah. That's one of those things, like, it sounds really strange to say, oh, 1996 was so long ago.
It is.
For us, because that was our childhood. When I think of old, I tend to think of like my parents' like childhood. But that's what like almost a 20-something-year-old movie now.
Yeah, it's 22, 23 years old. Oh, dang.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And like I think that's kind of the risk you run though with older films. You don't know what you're gonna get, because it could either be really cheesy or just really bad, or the effects aren't that good, and that kind of ruins the illusion and stuff like that. And I think with this one, it holds up well.
Yeah, it's the way it tells its story is really interesting. Like, I think it's directed wonderfully. It's got this kind of dynamic, artsy quality to it with lots of really interesting camera angles. And it starts with Ethan and this team. And like, I had kind of a hard time keeping the team straight at the beginning. Like, okay, who's this and what do they do and how, what's their relationship? But it ends up not mattering, because then all of them die. And then it's Ethan trying to figure out, okay, who killed them, why, and like it turns out there's this big
smacking the microphone.
I still have to get used to having like a mic stand, and it's right there in front of me. I gotta calm my hands
there's
down.
Not much that I can do. Like,
I gotta use my indoor hands.
Use your indoor hands, Melissa.
But he finds out there's like way more twists and treachery involved in like his team dying as the story goes on. And one thing I thought was cool was that the villain's plot is revealed to us through the villain having flashbacks. And I don't know if I've seen another movie do that.
I don't know.
It's not the villain saying, this is what I did. And it's not Ethan saying, that's what you did. Like, it's just flashbacks sent to us that reveal the entire thing. I don't know. It seemed like a neat idea.
Yeah. Number 1 was the one where they're looking for the list of names.
Yeah,
right?
It's like 2 lists of like undercover agents, undercover names, and their real names.
Yeah, it's like the decryption key. Almost. Yeah, that was a good one. I think having watched them all back to back, they're starting to blur into one another for me a little bit, which is unfortunate. But like I don't know why, like, the second one is almost overshadowing the first one for me, and not in a good way.
Okay, do we want to kind of move on to the second one, because I feel like there's much more to talk about there?
Yeah, I mean, okay. we can move on. The second one was not good. I did not like the second one at all.
I had heard that the second one was not good, and I think it is still the weak point of the franchise, but I kind of liked it. There's parts of it I liked. I like that it's a smaller, intimate story that's more about like emotions than it is about espionage. Like, it kind of pulls
90s comics distilled into a movie.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It's 90s comics plus the year 2000 mixed into.
It is the corniest one of all of them by far, but like, it was corny in a way that like I found entertaining. It's
Yeah,
not trying to be corny. It just is because it has aged like that.
yeah, it's a little over the top, which is kind of unfortunate because that like I think Mission Impossible, the first one did so well,
Mhm.
and became like a major part of pop culture that this second one was like, oh, let's get a big name director
Yeah.
who is like I don't want to say more adept, but is willing to like make his own interpretations of stuff and have this really cool
Yeah.
edgy movie. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what they got, this like, oh, I'm trying to be
Very
edgy,
edgy. It's
like
very edgy. Even down to like the way Tom Cruise's hair is cut is edgy. These were the things I liked about the second movie. I liked his love interest. I liked this like cat burglar woman. I thought she was interesting as a character. And I like that she
she is
wasn't.
the most Bond woman though.
Yes. Yeah, this is like a very Bond type of movie. And I like that she wasn't exactly a love interest. She's the relationship her and Ethan have are like they're attracted to each other and they like each other. They kind of want to see how stuff goes. And it's not a romance. It's not like that's my woman. That's the love of my life. How dare you take her? It's like I want to hook up with that lady. Don't kill her. Like I like
We
that
have
it was,
something planned next Saturday.
yeah,
Don't kill her.
I like that it wasn't a full-on romance. It was just two people
Mhm.
that kind of wanted to date each other for a little bit. Like I
Yeah.
liked that it was a very serious take on a not serious relationship, and I like that it was kind of stepped down like that, and the movie didn't overblow what that relationship was. It kind of kept it at that
Yeah.
level consistently the whole time.
Now I'm thinking about the music in that film because it's even the soundtrack is like that 90s grunge rock, like late 90s, early 2000s. Just
Yeah, yeah.
man,
Like
it
the
does not fit.
like their interpretation, their like remix or whatever of the Mission Impossible theme. Nah,
And
nah.
that's the thing. Like, I understand all of those choices
Yeah,
too.
it's
Like,
the
hey,
year
this is really
2000.
popular. We
Hmm.
like the explosions. We like the like sexy relationship that they
Hmm.
have there. Let's amp all of that stuff up. Let's just give them
Yeah.
more of what they want. And then it's like, oh wait, that really wasn't what they wanted.
Dial it back. Dial it back. I also liked, and this is, I don't know if it's the movie, I think it's just me. The plot of that movie is that there has been this, uh, like a virus has been developed, like this terrible virus. And then there's also an antivirus for it.
That's right. Yeah.
And like, like a disease virus, not like a computer virus, like this
I mean, it
pandemic
is
sort
the
of
year
thing.
2000, so
And so like the bad guy had like he stole the antidote, but he needs the disease so that then he can sell, if he releases the disease, then he can sell the antidote. And I liked that plot just because in terms of movie plots, I think bioterrorism is my favorite form of terrorism. If you follow that, like in movies, don't do it in real life, folks. Kids, don't do a bioterrorism. I I just like that as a threat. Like it's more relatable to me. Like I'm more compelled by a pandemic than I am by just a big bomb or something
then
like
this,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
then some like mysterious thing on a floppy disk.
Yeah, yeah. Like, oh, I can get that. Like a disease I can grasp.
Yeah. Yeah, that sure as hell was an interesting one.
Yeah. Like I said, it's got a handful of things that I like, but I also am aware, like, oh, that's things for you, Melissa. Those are things Melissa
Which
likes, not things
is
that are
also,
likable.
it's strange because in movies usually the second one is better than the first one.
Hmm.
For most cases, I'm sure there are tons of exceptions, but
I can think of a lot
like,
of really good sequels off the top of my head.
you can do like with movies, it's usually the sequel is always better, but
Mm.
with music, it's always the sophomore curse. where it's like, oh, they had a really fantastic album, and then they do their like experimental thing. It's like, you guys know who we are now, like now we can stretch our legs, and it's like, don't do that. We liked your first one.
No stretching.
No stretching. But then the third one.
Yes.
That was the first one. He directed that one. JJ Abrams, but that's when Bad Robot kind of stepped in to help with the production from then on out. That one, to me, the third one was a million times better than the first two, and I was like, oh, this is so good.
The third one locks in for you. The third one is the movie that takes Ethan Hunt from being an action figure that does action things to like a real man.
Yeah. Or not even just like a real man, but like he's actually a character, and I think it also becomes less about these like James Bond spy, super cool badass destroying my glasses, you know. Oh, you just did the big and small thing. My theory has gone kaput, and you are a little bit robot-y right now, which is unfortunate. I am now you're holy shit, you're gone completely. I have no idea what happened.
I disappeared?
Ghost protocol.
I've been disavowed. It's not just the big or small thing, but it's gotten like thin. And that's what it was, so thin that it was off of the thing. I have no idea what's happening right now. This is amazing. I'm just gonna turn into a star shape next time.
It's gonna spell out some hidden message. You know, like, what the hell? If you guys don't watch us on YouTube, again, we have our cameras up so you guys can see us, and Melissa's camera the past like month and a half has been doing this small and large thing, and I haven't ever figured out why, and I can't find anything online about it. But
I'm always clear. I always look the same, but it like it makes me tiny or it blows me up real big. Like it keeps playing with the camera angle. And now I'm skinny. Okay.
It's I don't know, but from now on, I'm gonna try my best to ignore it, so at least the audio listeners aren't bothered by our.
Don't hear us repeatedly yelling about a thing they don't
like,
see.
Oh my god, what is happening? For those of you watching on YouTube, I apologize. It's gonna be a crazy ride. Yeah. But what was I saying? Third one, J.J. Abrams, a million times better.
Yeah,
it's also less of the like we're gonna try to be edgy and cool, and I think doubles down on a more grounded approach.
Yes, it's very grounded. Like I said that I liked in movie 2, it's like Ethan is to go recruit this cat burglar woman because it's her ex-boyfriend that stole this, he stole this antidote, and so he wants her back, and so it's kind of this emotional game between the three of them. But this is like, exactly, it's grounded, there's real stakes to it. It's not just like a woman Ethan Hunt met and liked. No, he went out on a vacation, he met this woman, and he is settling down with her. He's getting married to this woman and leaving the entire spy life behind.
There's been enough time in between 2 and 3 where, they're like, we've spent enough time. Like, let's get married, you know?
Yeah, it's 6 years between 2 and 3. And I think that is the longest break between any of these films.
Okay. I didn't know exactly how long.
Yeah, this was 2006. So this is while he was also doing Lost.
Okay. Interesting. I did not know that. Yeah. I really like J.J. Abrams. Most of the stuff he does, or I at least can recognize he's good at what he does on certain things, because I didn't like the Star Trek movies. I saw that first one he did, and I was like, I don't like this. But most of the stuff that he does, I really
Hmm.
like, and I think this has a lot of his fingerprints all
Yes.
over it.
Like
Um,
watching this, I kind of tried to quantify because like he was an executive producer on Lost. He helped create that show. Like I've seen those Star Trek movies. I've seen The Force Awakens, and I'm trying to quantify like
Cloverfield,
yes, yes, in Cloverfield,
all
and
that
I'm trying
stuff.
to quantify like what is it that J.J. Abrams does well, and what do I like about him? And he's very good at ensembles and character relationships. Like
Yeah,
this starts really strong character relationships that then continue through the rest of the franchise. And it has some beautiful moments, like the scene where Ethan's like, Julia, you just have to trust me. Like I can't tell you any of this. And Julia's like, okay,
yeah,
okay, I trust
and
you.
that
If you tell me
could
this is
have
real.
easily kind of devolved into the oh my god, is he cheating on me? What is
Exactly.
happening?
I
And like I feel like any other movie would have gone that way, but
mm-hmm.
I think that's the character moment that would have cheapened it.
Yes.
It's like it's an easy like oh my god, there's drama, you know.
Yeah, like there's stakes, but you're right, there isn't drama. And I like that that movie does kind of do away with all of that stuff like that. Like Ethan's been teaching for a while he's out of the field doing spy work.
Mhm.
And also like you buy him as somebody that would want to teach a new generation of spies. He's got that kind
Yeah,
of quality to him. Like you'd never see a James Bond being a teacher, for instance. But so one of his proteges, like his number one student, like went out in the field and got captured. And he's, they pull him in for like one last job to like go save her and bring her back. And Luther's asking him, like, is she more than a trainee to you? And Ethan's like, no, she's like my kid's sister. And that's
and
the
he's
end of
like,
it. Like
well,
they're like,
then he asks, "Are you sure you didn't sleep with your kid sister?" Like,
Ethan's like, are you crazy? No. I appreciated that they're like, okay, the audience is gonna wonder about this. We're gonna address it once and drop it. And
yeah,
yes, this is absolutely a time when Julia could think like, oh, he's cheating on me. And instead you can tell that she kind of thinks not
you know she's thinking it.
yeah, 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 like, but she never comes out and says it, and it's also like kind of vague. Like, does she, could it be an affair, or could it be like, does he have like a criminal past or something like that? And she keeps
Yeah,
it kind of vague. Like, she doesn't spell out, you're doing this, aren't you, Ethan? She says, if you tell me what we have is real, I trust you and I will follow you. And then they go elope and they just get married at the hospital she works at by the
yeah,
hospital chaplain. And it's on the edge of being real cheesy, but I loved it. I feel like that was really well done. And
yeah,
again, this is something I think J.J. Abrams does well, is taking those things that are like right on the line between being very tender and sweet and being very cheesy. Like I think back to Lost, like the first season of Lost, where Claire was like, "Oh, the food I miss most is peanut butter. We can't get any peanut butter on this
and
island, and I keep craving
Charlie
peanut
has
butter." And
the
Charlie just
imaginary.
yeah,
Yeah,
he pulls out an empty jar and he's just like, peanut. Like he just pretend eats it because he can't do anything else for her but give her this like fun, goofy fantasy. And then
yeah,
later, like when she gets captured by the others and she's got some amnesia, she's like, I remember something about peanut butter. Why do I remember that?
yeah.
Like, I don't think he was sorry,
Hitting
microphone.
the
I'm
mic
sorry.
again.
I don't think he like wrote
Karate chop.
I don't know if he was like a scriptwriter or anything like that. I don't know if he had involvement in that actual scene, but that's an example of like something like what this movie is. Like this is
Hmm.
right between being super cornball and like really emotionally affecting.
Yeah, and then his camera work on top of that is a lot
Yeah.
of like shaky cam. It looks like someone else is in the room
Hmm.
there, which I think helps for that more grounded approach. You feel like you're in the action with them. You're like watching this happen
Hmm.
rather than like it's a big Hollywood blockbuster. We have this like tracking shot that like slowly pans
Yeah.
down to one side, and there's style and pizzazz, and it makes it feel less fake, if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
he can do
So,
intimacy really well between
as you
characters.
guys can tell now, since we've talked about this one the most, we really liked this third one.
Yeah, the third one's fantastic. I want to talk about. Okay, so this was in 2006, and I feel like
Mhm.
2006 was when people were starting to get real wild with like coloring movies. Like this was when the
Interesting.
first. Do you remember like there was a whole era where every action movie was like blue and orange and like weirdly lit and hyper saturated like after the fact and post? Do you kind of remember that? It's
Kind of,
it's
yeah.
toned down now.
It's well, because it's also kind of around the time. I guess I don't remember when all the Blade stuff was coming out, but like the first, or I guess like the second wave of like comic book films were just starting to get in there. Because in
Yeah.
the one dude in this third film was Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen.
Yes.
And I was like, he looks familiar.
Yeah.
Where do I know him? Where do I know his voice from? I was like, oh, it's Dr. Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
So giant blue penis on the screen. That's where I remember him from.
Yeah. Yeah, that would have been in just 3 years after this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's kind of what I'm thinking of, like that, and I guess V for Vendetta was kind of around that same time. It's just it's just hyper stylized stuff.
And but to the point that this movie's got that like coloring to it, but it doesn't get like super oversaturated and crazy. It's just got this beautiful, lush, like warmth to it.
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's a colorful movie. Like again, it rides the line between being really overdone and like really affecting.
Last thing I will say on this one, I think out of all 6 of the movies, this one had the best opening. Just like that opening scene before the credits start. It starts at the end when the bad guy has the wife captured, and he's like, "Where's the rabbit's foot?" Blah 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 blah. Because yeah, like it just starts like, holy shit, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the rest of them, there's some other good ones, but those are also kind of the like, hey, this is like the cheesy spy opening. Someone is running and there's people chasing them, and they're gonna do some sweet action move and use some fancy gadget, you know, and that's the opening. And then it gets down to the like, okay, here's the actual movie. You had your one little bite of like cheesy spy stuff, you know.
I'm not.
This was like, oh shit, I am in. Let's go.
Yes, that's such a powerful opening, and I'm not 100% done talking about this movie yet because I do want to talk about briefly.
We'll come back. To it.
Okay, we can come back to 3. So you feel like
4.
Ghost Protocol, which is the next one where they drop the numbering convention. Ghost Protocol builds on a lot of what this movie does with the emotion of it, and also showing you how the technology they're using works. Like in the first 2 movies, you see them use those masks, but you don't know how they make the masks. And 3 and 4, you learn a lot more about that. Like you see behind the scenes of them, like explaining what it is they're doing and how it works and what the pitfalls of it are.
Exactly.
Ghost Protocol has my favorite gadget in the entire franchise, which is when they're sneaking into the Kremlin, it's that camera Benji has set up that is going to project, it films what is behind the camera and projects it onto a screen in front of the camera. Yeah. So as long as you don't step in the view of the camera, like the guard at the end of the hallway on the other side of the screen just sees what he's supposed to see.
Yeah.
But when all those other people walk into the room and the camera goes crazy trying to frame the background in the correct way for everybody's eye line.
That was really cool.
Oh, that's so neat.
Yeah, it's fun to see a little bit more of how the gadgets work. I think the 4th one though is when they started to introduce the more modern, I guess Marvel method is the way that I can put it nowadays, where it's like, yeah, we do have this big action movie, and it has all of these serious moments, but we're gonna sprinkle some funny moments in there, because in that camera scene, like, his face gets in the camera and it's his big face. He's like, oh.
Yeah, the fourth one does become fun.
Yeah, and I'm debating if I liked that in these movies or not, because I one part of me doesn't want them in there. Of this, just like I kind of just want, like, this is a more serious film.
It is.
Like, it shouldn't really have these comedic moments, but at the same time, I like the characters, so I want to see that.
A lot of it does come from the characters themselves.
Yeah,
so
it goes both ways, I think.
Okay,
there's certain ones I'm like, okay, that was a little much, but
there is, in I think one of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies, like one of the later ones, where it's gotten really off the rails and it's super cornball.
I think the one that was really cornball was
Die Another Day.
Yeah.
The worst one I have heard. I've actually only seen the Daniel Craig's, but I've had the other ones recapped to me on podcasts, so I know all this stuff. But anyhow, like, he takes off in like some crazy vehicle or whatever, like something in the background turns into a vehicle. I don't know. But they're just on the streets of London, and there's a shot where a pigeon looks over at what's happening, and then the pigeon does a double take. Like, a pigeon is like, what? And it's not that. This Mission Impossible never gets to pigeon double take.
It gets to, like, oddly, vaguely religious doves flying, symbolizing purity it doesn't do pigeon double takes.
I do have to say that I was under the impression that film 2 was just wall-to-wall doves, and honestly, watching it, I'm like, that's a manageable amount of doves. Yeah. That's actually way less than I was led to believe this movie had. Like, and
it's like,
I'm fine.
And I understand the, like, he can't move fast because then they'll all go flying up, and then it, like, alerts them all to him being there. I understand that. But then it's like the slow motion doves flying around, his hair flying in the wind, and then it's like, wait, are those doves? Why are those doves? Doves symbolize purity. What is this?
In Australia.
Why? This is vaguely religious. That's strange. But yeah, so number 4, I think, starts to, like, pepper in some comedy, I think, just to cut up the seriousness of the film, which is, again, as I said, it's good at certain times, but then certain ones I'm just like, I just want this to be a spy film. I don't know. But
it's the most madcap of any of them, and it leads itself to some fantastic action scenes. Like, I think one of the strongest action scenes in the series is Ethan having to climb up the side of the Burj Dubai with, like, magnetic gloves, and then one of them fails, and then he just has to hop up the side of the building with one hand.
Yeah. That's the one where, like, I think our generation really started noticing, oh, he does all his own stunts. Like,
yes.
He what the hell? Like, I remember all of this stuff, from him, like, climbing on the building, to the one in the next movie on the airplane, like, saying all of that stuff was just like, whoa, they're going all out. Like, they're kind of taking the movies to the next level without it being that cheesy, we're gonna have a slow motion explosion and doves are gonna be flying, and
Yeah, I'm glad I watched these movies when I did, because now it has this meta story to it of, I know some of the behind the scenes stuff. I know that Tom Cruise does as much as he can himself. And so just, like, watching him, like, oh man, everything that Ethan Hunt can do, Tom Cruise can do.
anything
which is
Ethan do, Tom can
wild.
do better. Um,
Although I don't know if Tom can draw that well.
yeah, that's true.
The
um,
fourth movie, I want to talk about how it uses the Julia storyline from the third movie because I
okay.
love what it did with it. And it's kind of playing on, again, a sort of meta story and the audience knowing franchises kind of like this in the past. Just, or like any movie franchise where like there's a love interest in one movie and they're not in the next movie for
Yeah.
like
Just
plot reasons.
FYI, your camera froze.
Okay, it
So,
froze for
okay.
me and I didn't know if you were also seeing it. I don't know how to make it unfreeze.
Neither do I. Let's carry on. Let's pick up where we left off.
Yes.
You were
Okay.
talking about
What Ghost Protocol
exactly.
does with the Julia storyline, because an audience would be used to in an ongoing like action adventure movie franchise for like there to be a love interest in one movie who's just not in the next movie.
Mhm.
Sometimes for story reasons and sometimes that doesn't want to come back. So like the fact that we come back and she's not there, the audience is like half expecting it, honestly, just based on the track records of other movies.
Yeah.
And so they introduce this concept that like she couldn't deal with Ethan's spy lifestyle that he ended up having to reveal to her and she left him, which is a standard reason like another movie would plug in there. But then they reveal that oh no, she was killed and he's lying, like he doesn't want to talk about it. So he's just telling people that she left him. But then they reveal oh no, she's
That's
not
not
dead.
true.
Ethan just wants everyone to think that she's dead.
They faked her
She's
death.
alive out there. She knows, like, the two of them made an arrangement that she will, like, go into witness protection, basically, something like that. Like, she has a whole new life in another part of the country. And Ethan just, like, pops in to see her every once in a while.
So,
Like, they'll just spot each other from across a
so
crowd
babe.
and nod and say, I'm okay. How are you? I'm okay. I love you. Bye. Keep living.
There you
And
go.
I loved that built like twist upon twist
Yeah.
that they did with that thing because it was like not at all what I was expecting. And it took the attachment you got to Julia in film 3 seriously. Like I don't know, like we don't know her very much, but the way Ethan feels about her and like their marriage became something you cared about in movie 3. And movie 4 like touched back upon that, I feel like the
Hmm.
perfect amount.
Yeah. It just checked in as like, oh, there is actually a little bit more continuity than we were expecting here.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then that's brought back again in the sixth one later
Yeah.
on, which is kind of cool too. It's really like, except for one reference to the first movie, basically from movie 3 onward is like, okay, here's the continuity.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it like it all happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they don't ever reference the second one.
No, no, you could. Yeah, I think you could do away with the second one should you really want to. I thought it was kind of fun. Like it's not so bad. I'd say skip over it. Parts of it are neat, like the break-in scene is neat, but
Yeah. Um,
I think what the first movie does, even if there's just one reference to it later on in the sixth movie, which we can get to, it sets up that Ethan is a man who has experienced loss and he does not want it to happen again. Like, even if he doesn't
mhm.
mention them by name, if he doesn't say, I lost my whole team one time, that's still, you can still see that that's in him, that that's still affecting him. And that's
Yeah.
why he's fighting so hard to keep everybody around him.
Yeah, he's lost
Like,
his
even if
team,
we
he's
don't,
lost his wife, he's lost his
yeah,
best trainee. Like he's
yeah.
lost a lot of stuff.
So that's why he's like, I'm not letting go of Luther. Like, I'm not letting go of Benji. I'm not letting go of Ilsa. Like, I want them all around me.
Yeah. Um, I do have to say, I think once it kind of switched over to this new, more modern format for the
Uh huh.
three, I don't go. It was Ghost Protocol, then Rogue Nation, and then
Yes.
Fallout. Okay, I think oddly enough, I think that second one, that middle one, Rogue Nation, was the one I liked the least, but I think it's
I'm
also the most important out of the three because it sets
yes.
up Fallout the most. Like those two, movie 5 and 6, Rogue Nation and
Mm,
Fallout, have the most like continuity. Like you need to
yes.
see that fifth one to understand what's happening in Fallout, kind of.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like there's a lot of little parts of Rogue Nation I really like, but the thing as an overall story,
I
like
didn't care for it as much.
I lost all the connective tissue. Like I watched it just a couple days ago and there's flashes of it that I remember, but the overall strokes of the thing just sort of like slipped through my hands like sand. I
Yeah,
remember the character beats and there's some cool action scenes like that. Like he has to go swimming. Like there's I don't know all the technical jargon for it, but he has to like replace a
I think
floppy disk.
swimming is the technical
No,
jargon
like
for
there's some
being
sort of
in
like
water.
a technical server
Yeah,
that like to keep it cool, it is underwater and he has to swim in there and
yeah.
like he has to go free swimming, like he can't take an oxygen tank with him. That is a really cool sequence. And this movie has some wonderful character moments like Ethan Hunt has been disavowed or something like that. Like they think he's gone rogue. And so like Benji is being interrogated every week. Every week they give him a polygraph test like, do you know anything about Ethan Hunt? Where's Ethan Hunt? And he has to keep lying.
Yeah,
And there's a moment where he says to Ethan like, no matter what I have to tell the polygraph every week, you are my friend.
yeah,
Like the friendship in this movie is really lovely. Like him and Benji and Brant, who's Jeremy Renner's character, and him and Luther, and like the relationship he starts with Ilsa. I like that stuff, but the actual like espionage and mythology, like I know this is where it starts, but like I kind of lost
yeah,
track of it like while it was happening.
yeah. It kind of fell flat for me, that fifth one there. Um, I oddly enough though, I also want to say the fifth one was the most Bond like to me.
Yeah.
Not in a cheesy
Hmm.
way, but like I guess some of the Bond. I guess some of the more early Bond films was, yes, like there's Dr. No trying to take over the
Mm.
world and you're building a giant laser on the moon, and stuff like that. But this is a more down to earth Bond style film. There's diamonds, there's a heist, and
Yeah.
there's and I think unfortunately for Mission Impossible, maybe that wasn't the I mean,
Hmm.
it's still good. Like, it's still a good film, but it like I don't know if if it landed exactly where I wanted it
Yeah.
to. But again, at
And
the same time,
actually,
I'm happy it did because it set up the sixth one so well.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. I do want to say that if I've done my math correctly, I think Rogue Nation and the most recent James Bond movie, Spectre, I think those both came out in 2015.
Okay,
So they
I
might have been like
I
kind of
saw
playing off each other.
I think the first two of the most recent
Hmm.
Bond films, and then I was just like, okay. Um, but yeah, number six.
Fallout.
I'm so mad that I didn't go see this in theaters because
Me
that movie was
too!
fucking amazing.
Me too. Oh, it's incredible. Like it's these stunts and the like this is so good on the action front and on like the emotional character arc
And
front.
the espionage front too.
Yes.
Like, just this was on a whole nother level of
I know.
here's like, yeah, I had
And
heard like, it's one of those things where if you hear a lot of good things about a movie, you start to
mhm.
kind of be like, well, can it really be that good? Maybe
Yeah.
I shouldn't, maybe I should be a little more critical, and then you end up being like, oh, it wasn't that good, blah blah blah. Um, but yeah, this this was fantastic.
Yes, I also am so mad I didn't see this in the theaters and yeah, it's this has this five and six have the same director, and we were talking about how like five has good moments, but like it becomes kind of amorphous, and I'd put 5, like, I did rank all of these for myself. We can talk about the ranking at the end, and I did
Sure.
put 5 like towards the bottom, but like the difference between 5 and 6 is extraordinary. It's
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah.
They grew
Um,
so much.
it's yeah, it's just like a whole nother level. I it's yeah, like I don't even know where to begin with that one because it takes the action to a much more
Hmm.
not it's not a spectacle like
Yes.
what some of the other movies were. I felt like some of the action scenes in the previous films, even some of the good ones, are just like, look at this spectacle, here's something
Yeah.
crazy happening, whereas this
Hmm.
action was more like edge of my seat, like what's gonna
Yes.
happen, like I don't
Yeah.
know it, like how are they gonna make it through this
Exactly. And
kind
maybe
of
it's the fact
action.
that it's the most recent one, so there's not another one after this. I mean, there could be, but we don't have it here in front of us to watch. So
Mhm.
like we don't know, like, one side character
That's true.
dies like
Yeah,
halfway through the movie, but like, are we gonna lose anybody else?
yeah. It's that. But I think it's like I think I was also invested in this storyline where
Yes.
it is this. Oh wait, they're trying to frame Ethan for this stuff that this other guy did that happened in the fifth movie, and they're saying maybe he's crazy and all that stuff, and it actually makes sense, but they're also not going into this weird like
Hmm.
psychological stuff, which I was like, okay, thank goodness that they're
Yeah.
not, going into some of that stuff. It was still very much this like espionage play. Oh no,
Yeah.
he was the one behind it. I was like, good move, good
Yeah.
move. Like I understand that, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so it is more of this thriller in the sense like
Hmm.
the action scenes. They I mean, there are a lot of big things that happen in these action scenes, but I'm more enthralled in the storyline behind the action scenes rather than just, oh, let's go watch this popcorn flick where a bunch of things
Yeah.
will explode.
Hmm.
You know. So yeah, good film.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Very good. And I think it did a really great job of, it is enough of just like a popcorn summer action blockbuster that you can walk in not having seen the previous 5 and have a great time, but it pays off so
So
much if you
well.
have seen the previous 5 movies. It ties up the Julia storyline beautifully, I think.
Hmm.
And I do like, I talked earlier about how this movie does not have the libido of a James Bond, and I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
like that Ethan has had a lot of very kind of grounded, realistic relationships. Like in the first movie, like you can tell there was a girl on his team like he kind of liked, but you don't know what stage they're at, and he's sad when she dies, but it's not a big deal. The second movie is a girl he's having a fling with, and it's not made out to be anything really stronger than that, and you don't hear about her anymore after that, but it kind of makes sense. You're not really
Yeah.
expecting to. The third movie introduces this wife. The fourth movie touches on the fact that they can't be together, but she's still out there somewhere. It's not brought
Hmm.
up in 5. There's a little rest in 5, and then she's back in 6. And like,
Yeah.
he has never forgotten about Julia. Like, his heart is still Julia's. Like, he's never flirted with anybody else since then. Like, I liked the moment when the White Widow like kisses him, and he is just like frozen, like he's not reacting at all. He is not kissing her back. Like, no, no.
Yeah.
Like, I also like that it's like, don't kiss me, but also like, no, my heart belongs to somebody else. Like, not even as like a ploy for
Yeah.
plot reasons. I don't want to kiss you back.
Yeah. And yeah, like it's a good combination of all of that stuff. I
Mm-hmm.
think having uh like Ving Rhames' character like be in all of these
Yes.
is a good thread. um and yeah, like you said, it pays off so well,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is why it's yeah, it's so good.
Yeah,
So
it is.
is there any of the movies that you wanted to dive into a little bit more in detail or stuff while we still have some time here?
I think I had a little bit more I wanted to say about 3, which was pretty much just like, okay, I like the way everything comes together in 6, starting with Solomon Lane, the villain introduced in 5, but 3 has the best villains. Like Philip
Mm-hmm.
Seymour Hoffman. Oh, 3 has like the most impressive technical shot out of all of these movies. In 3 is the movie where they're starting to like show you, kind of get behind the scenes and like, this is how we make those masks. This is how all our technology works. And like you see them like designing the masks so that Ethan can pretend to be Davian, whatever Philip Seymour Hoffman's character's name is. And there's a shot where he's having the mask applied to him and it doesn't cut away. It's the same shot. And
Mm-hmm.
somehow, right in front of your eyes, it goes from Tom Cruise wearing a Philip Seymour Hoffman mask to Philip Seymour Hoffman. And it's so smooth, especially for 2006. Like, I
Yeah.
had to rewind it. Like, how did they just do that thing?
I mean, it's good CGI for that.
Yeah.
Just and to
I guess that is one of the perks of like doing so much practical stuff, is that when you do need a good CGI shot like that, like you can really put the time and energy into it because you're not doing as much of them. Like I think the
mm-hmm.
CGI work in these movies really is quality over quantity.
Yeah. I think so.
Mm.
I agree with that. Number 3, or wait, yes, number 3. You messaged me when you started watching that.
Right.
God damn it! So every now and again, I'll have someone tell me that they think I look like Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, which at certain times I can see it, especially if I have my hair buzzed. But you messaged me a picture of him from IMDb and from Mission Impossible 3. It's like, I didn't know you were in this movie, Kyle.
Yeah.
God damn. And I was just like, I have nothing to say to that.
I have been waiting for the opportunity for him to show up in something we are covering so that I could make that joke to
it's
you.
really strange because I'm also I don't know much of what else she's been in, but I really like Michelle Monaghan, who plays Julia. That's her name, right? I'm terrible with names.
It is Julia. Yeah, okay. Julia or Jules.
And so to see her in that third one, I was like, oh, I know her. I really like her. The first episode of the review show, I covered a show called The Path, which is it's a fantastic show. It's a Hulu original, but it stars Aaron Paul and Michelle Monaghan, and they're a couple. And so to see them both in this and their brother and sister, I was like, that's really weird. Aaron Paul looks so young in that film. It's fantastic.
And like, people make jokes about Tom Cruise not aging, but watching movies that have taken place across 22 years of his career over the span of a week, like I went back to the original Mission Impossible and I'm like, he does look like a baby. And I watch Fallout and I'm like, he's not a baby, but he's still really young. It's like if you went to your friend's, one time I went to a friend's high school graduation party. And so he's just 18, but his parents have lined up like all of his old school photos. And it's like, this 18-year-old was 9 once. Like, that's how it feels watching Tom Cruise. It's like, this young person was younger.
Crazy. I don't know if there's so much.
Exactly. Like,
it's hard to
3 more hours.
Yeah, that's one of those things, especially since we had 6 films to
Hmm.
cover, and they're all directed by different people and stuff.
Yeah.
Did you have a favorite scene, like a favorite action scene or something like that?
Favorite action scene? I don't
Because
know.
I had a particular shot that I really liked,
Ooh,
and
what's your
overall,
favorite shot?
yeah, overall it wasn't like plot heavy, it wasn't action heavy, but it's in the 6th one. There's
Hmm.
a scene where um I guess it's Elsa's character is on the motorcycle chasing them,
Yes.
and she takes a turn as they go down one street. She takes a turn earlier, it like I guess underneath a building. It's
Hmm.
in some like open air building type of thing, um, and it's her on this motorcycle going just straight down this hallway, and there's pillars on each side, and she's
Yes.
going so fast, and you hear the pillars like on each side going like boom 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 boom. um but it almost, in one sense, it looks really fake. Like I'm wondering if they kind of digitally added in pillars
I don't know.
into that to make the
I
effect seem longer, but they do the thing where they're like they're starting to go a little bit slower than her. Actually, I'm not sure which one it is, where they go
yeah.
slower or they're speeding up behind her, but then the camera like zooms out or zooms in. It does the opposite
Hmm.
there, so it has this like parallax effect,
Yeah.
and it's so fucking cool.
It is good. I think that was, and you're right, they might have added a few more columns onto the end of it, but I also really, I know that is a real set,
Yeah.
and it might be that long. I was listening, I haven't finished it, but I've been listening to the commentary on Fallout by the director and by Tom Cruise.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot of really neat stuff about how they filmed this movie. Like, okay, so Ethan is being set up to kind of pretend that he is John Lark, that he is this terrorist guy,
Yeah.
and he has to go along with the White Widow's plan just to like get to the knowledge and get to the plutonium or whatever.
Hmm.
And there's this scene of like all these armored trucks showing up as part of the scheme, and then the police catch them, and then they have to shoot down all the police officers, and you see him like struggling to like kill the final police officer who's seen them, and then like he wakes up like it's like a nightmare or like this
Yeah.
bad fantasy that he's having about like, I don't want to be this deep into this, I don't want to do this. And that whole scene has got this kind of weird glowy lighting to it. Do you remember this?
Yeah. It's not foggy, but you're right. It has this like weird glow.
Okay, why that is that they were filming that on location in Paris.
Hmm.
And this is a scene that is outside of the narrative of the movie, kind of. And they're like, this is like a real violent scene. And they're like, this is not what our franchise is about. We aren't this violent.
Right.
Like, we're filming this as an illustration of the characters fearing, oh no, what if it has to get that violent? We don't want it to go like that. So they didn't want the people around them in the real filming location to think, oh, this is an in continuity scene in the movie. Like Mission Impossible's taking a real dark turn. Like they didn't want that seen by
Which
anybody.
you kind of do, because it's a subtle effect. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, this is the thing where they're like, okay, what's the plan, and they
Yeah.
start to like explain it at the same time it's happening, right?
Hmm.
And then yeah, and then it has the like, we don't want that.
No. But why that scene looks the way it does is that they hung up so many sheets of like white silk
Huh.
around where they were filming so that nobody from the outside could see
Could see
in.
what was
And
happening.
while they were filming it, like
Weird.
it was all silent. Like they didn't have like, on set gun noises or anything because they didn't want anybody to know what they were doing because it was so outside of like what the movie is about for them. And so they were talking about like considering different things in the story, and they're like, that's not mission. That's not mission. Like they've got such a handle on what this franchise is and what its tone is, and like when it gets too dark and they don't want it to go that dark. Like they've really got to rein in on the
Huh.
emotional core of the franchise, which I really appreciated. And I thought that was really cool to learn. Oh, there's like a real kind of sweet backstory to why that scene was filmed the way it is. And it looks gorgeous in the movie. And it adds to
Yeah.
that like dream-like kind of dreadful quality to
Yeah,
it.
I guess now that you explained it with all those white sheets
Mm.
there, it diffuses the light, and so it's
Yeah.
more overcast and everything is lit
Yeah.
evenly. That's strange though, huh? Interesting.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
it's been a really interesting commentary so far, like learning. I was so impressed by these movies. Like I I think like I bought all of these just for like the practical sake of, oh, I'm going to be watching these over maybe a couple weeks. If I see something in one of the later movies that reminds me of the first movie, let me buy all of them so that I
Sure.
have them all at hand. But now I'm like, oh, I'm glad I bought these. Like I want to own these. I want to watch all of these again in the future and check out all of the, the bonus features and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, finally, I ranked all of these movies. Did you rank them, or would you be
Kind
able to
of.
rank them on the fly? Okay.
Yeah.
My
So
ranking.
I think we can put Fallout as number one.
Yes. Okay.
That one was fantastic.
My ranking was Fallout, and then Mission Impossible 3,
Okay.
and then
I agree.
Ghost Protocol, and then the first one, and then Rogue Nation, and then Mission Impossible 2 at the bottom.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to what I would do. I don't know if I would. Yeah, that
Yeah.
seems about right.
I go back and forth on flipping around the first one and Rogue Nation because I love
think
the
that's what I was
character
thinking
stuff
about,
in
too.
Rogue Nation, but I think the first one is more impactful in like action scenes. Like it's more compelling on like that level.
Yeah, yeah. I think overall the very first Mission Impossible film is more memorable
Yeah.
than Rogue Nation was. But again,
Mhm.
as we said, that's the one that sets up Fallout.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like story wise, you need it. But
It's just an opening
yeah.
act. Yeah.
Yeah. I I guess the Mission Impossible franchise as a whole, as we mentioned at the start, is based off that old TV show.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if there's like books of these and stuff, because that's kind of what these last two films feel like.
Yeah.
It's like one big novel that they
Yes.
then divided into two movies.
Mhm. Yeah, I was wondering that too. Like, I don't know if I've ever watched a movie and wanted to also read it. Like, I think when we were kids, it was a pretty big trend for like movies to have novelizations of them, and
Mhm.
I would try to read it, and it would always like give me this weird uncanny feeling to like read about something I saw on screen
Sure.
like an internal monologue. Like it never felt quite right to me. But I watched these and I don't know, like I wanted a book. I wanted to read Ethan's internal monologue.
Well, it feels kind of like what they did with some, again, to bring back James Bond. It feels kind of like what they did with that, where I think it was Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace or something.
Yes.
I don't remember which
Yes.
ones exactly.
Yeah, that's the two of them.
But it's one book, and they just divided it into two movies.
I think Casino Royale was one book by itself, but when they made Quantum of Solace, it backs up immediately after Casino Royale. That basically is one movie cut in two.
Yeah.
Like, because there's such a short amount of time between the two of them. And according to the Bond podcast I listen to, like, Quantum of Solace is so much better if you watch it immediately after Casino Royale, because it kind of needs that to build on.
Yeah. So, who knows? Maybe they brought on this new guy to do like a trilogy or something, or who knows.
It could be that. Yeah, I looked him up
where
because
they planned out the story. Here's what we're going to do for the next couple films, and that's why they feel so connected.
It may very well be that, because I looked up Christopher McQuarrie, this director, because I wasn't familiar with anything else that he had done.
Yeah.
And he has worked with Tom Cruise very closely on a number of recent projects like Jack Reacher and Valkyrie.
Okay.
And I think a few other things, but yeah, he's Tom's buddy. So I could definitely see the two of them. Oh, so when I listened to the commentary, I was like, how does a man like Tom Cruise introduce himself? And so the commentary starts and it's like, hi, I'm writer-director Christopher McQuarrie. And Tom Cruise is like, and I'm Tom Cruise, the writer and director's friend and coworker.
Friend and coworker. Friendly neighborhood Tom Cruise. Tom, get down from there.
Tom, get down from there. Which also could be an apt description for the new Spider-Man movies.
True.
They also have a Tom that should get down from there.
Tom, get down from there. That's good. That's good. Was there any kind of last parting remarks you wanted to say about these Mission Impossible films?
I just want to give a brief shout out to Michael Giacchino, the composer of 3 and 4.
There you go.
Because those were the movies directed by J.J. Abrams and Brad Bird, who have worked with Michael Giacchino before. And it wasn't until I started these that I'm like, oh, dang, am I in for 2 big Mike scores in a row? Yes, I am. And they're fantastic.
Yeah. There you go. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. It was fun. Highly recommend it again.
Yes.
I am so mad at myself that I
Yes!
did not go see Fallout in theaters.
I want to go back in time just to like
wish.
6 months ago.
Because just the experience of having it on that big screen with the like ginormous sound, it would have been fantastic instead of me sitting here at my computer watching it on my headphones. You know?
Yeah.
So it was good. If nothing else, go see that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that is well worth your time. It is on another level.
Yes, and it can't stand on its own.
If you had to recommend something else, if people liked these films, what else would you recommend? I think James Bond is a given.
Yeah, I would recommend The Man from U.N.C.L.E. This was another like old 1960s. Yeah, an old 1960s spy TV show. U.N.C.L.E. stands for, I think, United Nations Council for Law Enforcement or something like that. And it's just about an American spy and a Russian
Strategic Homeland
spy.
Enforcement Intelligence Logistics Division.
It's about an American spy and a Russian spy that have to work together. And I think it was Guy Ritchie directed a movie reboot of this a couple years ago, starring, again, Henry Cavill and Armie Hammer. And it's so much fun. It's a little bit more like witty. It's a little bit more on the comedic. I mean, it's not. I would describe it as a romp, but not a comedy, if you're able to translate that.
Okay.
It's fun. It's just sort of fun and witty and breezy. It's a really good time.
Yeah. Okay. I think another obvious one for me is the Bourne trilogy.
I've never seen those ones.
Oh my goodness. We're gonna have to do those eventually. They're good. They're also that spy espionage action stuff, but instead of James Bond, as you mentioned at the start of this, is more like style and pizzazz and a one-man team, whereas Mission Impossible is it's still action-based, but he has a team. There's more characters there. The Bourne movies is espionage, but it's more focused on one character, but it is more on the who is this character, who is Jason.
I know it's more
Bourne.
of a mystery kind of.
It's more of a thriller.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that also fits right up there. And it's also another series that was like, hey, we're gonna put Jeremy Renner in because he's gonna be the next big action star. Wait, never mind. He is gonna take a backseat role. So yeah, it has some parallels there, but just if nothing else, the original 3 because the one they brought Jeremy Renner in, I think, was the fourth one, and they were like, "Oh, maybe not." Not that he's a bad actor in these things. I just think they were starting to groom him to be the next big action star, and it's like, well, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know if he's a leading man, but I do love him as part of an ensemble.
Yeah, he was good, so I would recommend that. If I were to go a more anime route, I would kind of say Ghost in the Shell.
Okay.
Not as action heavy. It's a little more solemn, if that makes sense.
Yes.
But there is this kind of spy espionage terrorism stuff going on there with that. But it's a little bit more futuristic and cyberpunk and stuff like that. So there you go. That is another good one. But it is time to pitch stuff for next week. And
First
it is my
turn. The new year.
My turn, yeah.
Okay, what do you got?
So let me see. I'm going to close Twitch out here. By the way, we had someone else in the chat, so thank you for stopping by.
Hi.
Kitty Cat, I don't remember the numbers that you were on the end of your thing, but hello.
To you.
I am pulling up my notes that I had all the stuff written down. I had two ideas. Oh, shit, I didn't write down the third one. Fuck, what was I going to do? I had two ideas. One was themed, and then I decided not to do the themed one because I felt like it was too cheesy.
Kyle, you can never be too cheesy for me.
What was I gonna do? I need to look up. Oh, I remember what it was. I kind of wanted to do stuff just like I didn't want to do a theme or like all movies. I wanted a good mix of stuff as my first pitch. So that's why I pitched the theme. But I will at least let you know what the theme was. It was movies that take place in 2019 because that was going around Twitter a lot. And my three pitches would have been Akira, Blade Runner, and The Running Man, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
What a combination of films! Yes,
yeah, which it still would have been good things. So maybe we have all of this year to eventually come back to that. But I wanted to mix it up a little bit more. So my first pitch is a graphic novel called Batman White Knight. I have it right here. If you guys can see it on the camera screen.
Okay, that seems cool. DC Black Label.
DC Black Label. It's their
more shelf DC.
Yeah, it's their more adult DC level. If you heard all the stuff about seeing Batman's penis, it was on one of their Black Label books. Anyways, Batman White Knight is kind of an Elseworld story. It's self-contained. My roommate actually got this for me for Christmas. That's why I also kind of wanted to pitch this. It's written by Sean Murphy with Matt Hollingsworth as well. And basically the story is, in today's day and age, when something crazy happens, everyone takes out their cameras and they film it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's just what we do. If we see some kind of injustice, if we see some weird person on the train, we take pictures, we film it. So the book opens with Batman capturing the Joker and beating him up, like, to a pulp, like, violently. And people are filming it. And it goes viral, and it doesn't look good for Batman. This is like, ooh, this is not a good look. Like, you shouldn't be beating people up that badly. You know, like, it's fine. Like, I mean, it's not, I guess, fine in their world. He's still a vigilante, right? But it's that thing of like, oh, you're Batman. We know what you do. But that was a little too far.
Yeah.
And so I think Joker goes into a coma, and then once he comes back out of it, he kind of sees what happened and sees the backlash, and he kind of takes up the mantle of the White Knight of, hey, I'm going to go straight and kind of clean up Gotham and be like, hey, Batman is not good for Gotham. So that is Batman White Knight. It's an interesting one. My second one, I'm gonna pull up here on Comixology. Blah 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 is Essex County.
Okay, I've heard that name.
I don't. I think I mentioned it once before. So this is by Jeff Lemire. It's a graphic novel, but apparently what I did not know is that it's a series of like short stories.
Okay.
So there's a couple different stories within this. It all takes place within Essex County, Ontario. And it's a bunch of I kind of want to say almost like Stand By Me style stories where it's just the small town, here's what happens, here's these kids going on into like a short adventure, stuff like that. I think it's all in black and white. But we did a recent episode on Plutona.
Yes.
That's the same author.
Okay.
So this is Jeff Lemire, but he's also doing the artwork on this one. I don't know how to pitch this better.
No, I can wrap my head around that. Yeah, I've sort of slice of life, really small great town. Things.
I think this is one of the books that kind of brought his name into the limelight in the comics world there. So it's like one of his first award-winning books. But he always has some really fantastic character moments, which I like a lot. Pitch number 3. I'm kind of surprised at myself that I haven't pitched something in this family before because I'm such a big fan of this franchise. And that's the Gundam franchise.
Oh, yes.
And it's also like I kind of know why. Like I want to introduce you to Gundam in a better way, honestly. But the show that I want to open, I would much rather open you with is a much longer show, so we can't do it all within 1 week. But I think both Hulu and Netflix now have a series called Gundam Unicorn.
What?
Yes, Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn.
Gundam Unicorn?
It's literally because the Gundam in that has a giant, like, unicorn horn.
Okay.
So there's multiple timelines in the Gundam stuff. I'm not gonna mention all of that stuff. This takes place, I want to say, like 30 years after. Let's see. It takes place in 96, so it takes place like 16 years, I think, after the end of some of the main events in this timeline. But it's kind of this new kid just kind of growing up after the war. Like when he was a kid, he didn't really know what was happening or something like that. But it's kind of this self-contained Gundam story that I think it would be easily digestible for us to talk about. And it's a newer show, so it's not the old original show, which I still fucking love, which came out in like 1979. You know. But so it's a much newer anime. It's a mini series, so I think it's only 7 episodes.
Okay.
And it's a much newer animation style, and it looks fantastic. And I think since it's a smaller, digestible thing, it'll give you a good reference to what Gundam is, like what the types of villains they have there. Here's the type of combat. Here's kind of the things that they're dealing with. So that is pitch number 3.
Okay.
To go over those again, that's Batman White Knight. That's pitch number 1. Pitch number 2 was Essex County.
How much of
Jeff
Essex
Lemire.
County? I don't know if you specified.
It's all on Comixology. It's one bit, like it's one thing. You can search Essex County, and it's like, it's I guess technically it's the deluxe edition. They've added in some stories there, but yeah, it's one graphic novel of these short stories.
Okay.
If that makes sense. And I think there's like 3 short stories. So yeah. And then pitch number 3, Mobile Suit Gundam Unicorn.
Okay. We have not done Batman in my tenure on the show, and White Knight sounds really interesting, but it also sounds so... because it's kind of an Elseworlds. I don't know if that's the Batman to start with. And
okay.
I love unicorns, but I also don't know if that's the Gundam to start with. I'm interested in both those franchises, but maybe a different variation at a different time.
Sounds
I'm
good.
really intrigued by Essex County.
Okay.
Like, you had the least to say about it, but the basic premise and knowing what I liked about Plutona, which was kind of like the small town, like, interactions among the people side of things. Like, I'm real intrigued by whatever is in there. So I want to do Essex County.
Okay. Essex County for next week. I haven't read this one, so I don't even know exactly what to expect. It's just one of those things I've always heard about, like, hey, if you like Jeff Lemire, you should absolutely read Essex.
Yeah.
Essex County. I've not eaten yet. All I've had is some Mountain Dew in here, so like my fingers are just starting to get tingly. Of like, Kyle, you should eat some food. You should get like sustenance in your body, because that's Mountain Dew, breakfast of champions.
Kyle, what have I always said is the most important thing? Breakfast.
Sure, I had breakfast in my Avengers cup. Earth's mightiest breakfast. Yeah?
Yeah.
There we go. Essex County for next week. It's on Comixology Unlimited. If you are a subscriber to that, you can read it on there. You can also buy it just on Comixology regularly, or at a local comic book store, or maybe Barnes & Noble. I don't know. But it is out there. You can find it pretty easily. I'm excited.
Yeah.
For this next week. That'll be good.
Something new to both of us this year.
Yeah, something I didn't mention at housekeeping at the start of the show. We do have a little bit of a new release schedule.
That's right.
I think at the time we're still keeping our recording time the same, at least for now. But these episodes should be up on Patreon faster. Basically, right after this, I'm gonna start editing this so I can put it up on Patreon, which means it'll be out to the public. Excuse me. It'll be out to the public much sooner. It used to be that I would release these episodes to the public the following week. So the morning that we recorded an episode, the one from the week before would go live on feeds. I think what we're going to do, we record these live on Twitch at twitch.tv/the Whatnauts every Sunday at noon Eastern time, which I guess for you is 11 a.m. Central. But these should go up on Patreon either Sunday night or Monday morning, and then live Wednesday? Is Wednesday good?
Sounds good to me.
There you go. We'll stick with Wednesday. That gives people who missed the live stream but who are Patreon supporters, they can go listen to it early for a couple days and stuff like that, and then it's out a little bit faster for people who are on live streams. I mean, not on live streams, or just the normal people who happen to check out this show because they're like, oh, I like Mission Impossible. I want to check out that episode. Yeah, I think that's it. Patreon is patreon.com/the Whatnauts. You can give us your life savings. You can take out a loan and give us all of that money. We would absolutely love that. If you have a retirement plan, just give that all to us. Don't listen to Melissa. She's giving you bad advice. Give us all your money, okay? That's what we want.
Please give us 2 orbs of plutonium.
Rare earth metals might work as well. We can sell those on the black market. But yeah, so the Patreon, all of that goes back into helping keeping these shows alive, keeping our mics on, hosting costs, all of that stuff. So if you like what we do here at the Review Show or over at the Captain's Log, and maybe hopefully soon we can get the Reactor Core back up and running, because we haven't done one of those in a long time.
But if you like
those shows, yeah, you can support us on Patreon for as little as $1, and it helps us out a ton. It's pocket change, you guys, $1 a month, and that gets you early episodes and something we're gonna start doing here very, very soon. Hopefully, maybe by the end of January, maybe mid-February, we'll have our first Review Show Patreon exclusive episode up.
Yes.
Melissa and I have to talk about that and stuff like that. But yeah, all sorts of cool things. Melissa, where can the fine folks on the interwebs find you?
I have a Twitter and an Instagram. Those are both WilkyWit, WilkyWit.
And you guys can find me on the internet at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter and Instagram. And if you guys want updates for this show, we always have the info, I guess, down at the bottom there at the Whatnauts for Twitter, and it has our Twitch and Patreon stuff there. So yeah, Essex County for next week. We will see you on the live stream next Sunday at noon, unless something changes, and then
we will keep you updated. Don't worry.
And then on Wednesday for when the episode goes live. That is it. That is all. I will stop rambling, because I'm sure most of you tuned out and was like, well, they're done talking about Mission Impossible, so who
no more
cares?
Spy stuff.
Yeah, no more spy stuff. So that is it. We will see you guys next week. Adios, guys. Bye.